Cheers. Hi everyone. What have I been up to? Well, not a lot really on this channel. On the Land Rover, obviously I've been staying in a lot, been doing a little bit here and there, but I realised I haven't put a video out for what, a week probably, so I thought I'd just do a very quick one just to let you know I'm all still here and everything's all still fine as up to now. Obeying the rules about staying in and stuff, and well, staying within my boundaries, so I'm guessing that's okay. Take the dog out sort of twice a week for very quick walks with no personal contact, and hopefully this will pass us all by, but it's looking awful, isn't it? Anyway, just thought I'd do a quick video, as I say, on what I've been doing, what I've been up to, and what I've got coming up in the next few days. So let me get the camera off the stand and we'll go from there, and maybe the dog will shut up as well. Right, so first things first, here's the Diff pan. As you know, it's all welded up and all the welds are polished and everything. It's going to look lovely with a coat of paint on it. If you remember, I was muttering on in my last video about putting this up on a milling machine and milling it flat and everything. Well, that was a stupid idea. The milling machine isn't, it's one of those crappy little Clark things, and the milling machine isn't big enough really to clamp it, and the thing is you can't clamp it there and machine there, so short of sort of drilling a hole in it or mounting it onto a magnet or something, or a really strong mag chuck, which I don't have, I just thought, well, I'll grind it. So basically I didn't have to take too much off, a little bit from here and here, just to sort of stop it rocking really, and I did it on a sheet of glass to make sure it was flat and wasn't rocking. Then when I got on the axle, I realised the axle isn't actually very flat either, so I had to grind some more then, and I had to grind some out of here because the axle's kind of raised up where the weld is, where the two halves weld together. I'll show you in a minute. And also the, I won't show you in a minute because the axle's not in the right orientation, but basically I had to take some off of here as well because it's sort of like a convex shape on this, the face that it mounts on. So, you know, I got it all flat on a piece of glass and then had to modify it anyway. And also what I've done, I've put a nice big chamfer all the way around so I can weld into the gap and then build up the weld in here rather than having a weld like a, if I can show you here, rather than having a weld which is like a lump out here, the weld will go into that joint and sort of form a sort of concave weld, if you like, rather than a convex weld. That's what we're trying to achieve. If it works or not, we'll see. But basically, that's where we are with that. The inside's a little bit rusty because the dog likes to lick it, as you've already seen in one of my videos with the dog drinking from this bowl, which was a bit of a setup. So well, let's have a look at the axle. Right, here's the axle on its frame, and I've got those metal bars on the ends, as you can see here. So I can measure across, basically where are we? I can measure across from there to there, and from there to there, and I can check if the axle's moving around when I weld it. So that's what I've done, and my advice is bolt them on, don't unbolt them. Once you've bolted them on, measure, don't take them off, because you'll never know if they went back on the same. At the moment, the way they are now, I've got a slight taper in, so that's slightly tapering in, so it's, where's my finger, so it's this way, okay, which is good because when I weld it, it might just pull it back dead straight. As I said before, the front axle isn't critical if it's not dead straight, because you've got CV joints and hubs and everything, but the rear axle is absolutely critical. But I will get this right anyway, whatever happens. So as you can see, it is partially sandblasted. You can see on the ends here it's all sandblasted, and there's the sandblaster over there, sat on top of my Jeep engine, which is there, and it's a great bit of kit actually. My compressor has only got a 50 litre tank and it's 13.5 CFM, and it can keep up, but it doesn't really get much of a breather, so you have to sort of stop every 5 minutes and let it sort of have a breather and cool down. That's no problem. But what I did find, I mean, I was going around here blasting this weld, you can see it's all lovely, got rid of this rust all along here. And on the other side of it, there's actually a serial number that we can see now. But you can see now that the, you know, it's done quite a good job. I could do some better light, couldn't I? You see on this end, it's done quite a good job. It's gotten around the rust and everything. The other thing I've done is remove the anti-roll bar brackets. Here's one of them here, and that was sat up there like, let me get the camera back, like that. so sort of sitting down a couple of inches below the radius arms. So well, I'm never going to put anti-roll bars on my Land Rover, I may as well hack them off. So I hacked them off, cleaned off where I cut it and everything, welded in these gussets. Bloody awful to weld this axis. I hope it's better when I do the diff. And then welded all the way around here just to give it all some rigidity, because we must remember that these radius arms, although they can pivot at the back end, if you think about it, if you have the two radius arms in the axle and the axle is facing forward and your two radius arms are facing back, if you tip the Land Rover sideways and the axle stays on the ground, you're trying to sort of twist the axle with the radius arms. So I thought I'll make those mountings, you know, put some gusset in there just to basically put back what the anti-roll bar brackets were doing, because these aren't very thin at all. If you look, I'm sure they were thicker than that on the older models, but there we go. So so that's that. This is where I was talking about on the other side. If you can imagine on the other side where this weld seam is, it sort of comes up, it's not dead flat. So don't waste your time getting it flat on a sheet of glass like I did. Just put it on there and make it fit the axle, but get rid of the gaps on the end, because that's what's going to give you all the pull down and bend. The Sandblaster, as I say, is quite a good bit of kit, but as everybody says on YouTube, it's got a big problem. This nozzle on the end is just a simple sort of 3/8 BSP ball valve, and you can see here there's a hole in the side. That took about 10 minutes. So when you're using that ball valve, if you don't have it all the way open, it just blows a hole. It just wears a hole in the side of that straight away. And like I said, it took about 10 minutes. So I bought one of the things called a dead man, which is basically like a lever type gun to go on the end. So when that comes, I can get back into it. But I'm using sifted sand. I just get an ordinary sand, drying it out in the oven. It's down here, ordinary building sand, drying it out in the oven, and then sifting it through a sieve and ending up with a very, very fine powder, and it works a treat. But you must make sure you've got breathing gear on, because you can get silicosis from it. So but no, was it 79 or 89 pound? It's bloody brilliant. You've got to mess around a bit with the settings, but I'll do a review on it when it's all working properly and I've got to grips with it. I'll let you guys know how to get yourself set up with one. But the first thing you need to do is get rid of that. That is just a waste of time. So there we go, guys. That's going to be it for now, really. You can see I've got my 3/8 UNF nuts on here, ready to fit the diff. These little spacers on here were just to protect the threads while I was welding, keep them away from weld spatter. But if you go around the other side, you can see, I don't know if you can see, the welds are a lot nicer on this side. You can't really see, but yeah, welds are much nicer on this side. But down in here, there's something in this steel. I don't know what it is. It's nothing like welding up that diff pan anyway. So there we go, guys. So yeah, we've got to fit the diff to the axle before we weld the diff cover on, just to help with distortion. So I'll be doing that maybe tomorrow, and I'll put a video up for you. See you all soon, guys. Bye for now. Bye.